Welcome to From Job Seeker to Job Receiver. This is our second session. We had a beautiful session yesterday and we have another one coming up tomorrow. So we are right in the middle. And what is it from Job Seeker to Job Receiver? It's a program to support candidates in the job hunt with invitations to understand and reframe how are we being and showing up and acting in the recruitment process. As I said yesterday, and I want to stress this out again, it's invitations. So everything that I'm sharing is just from my own experience. And in this experience, I just found that there were sort of like other ways of looking at how I was being and doing and behaving within the job hunt. And I thought that, okay, maybe this can be of value from somebody. But of course, everything that we're going to be talking about today, that we talked about yesterday, that we're going to talk about tomorrow, everything is just an invitation. So you can take it, jump on it, or just decide that, hey, this is not working for me. And that's all completely fine. And why am I talking about this? Well, I am not a doctor. I am not a psychologist. But I do know some things about mental health and the job search because of my personal experiences. So I am Judith, I'm your host today. And I've been in the job search since January. Yesterday, we were talking about how, I've been also rejected 90% of the time, 10% ghosted, which is also super funny because I've been more ghosted than invited to interviews in this last month. And yeah, I've been going through all this just to be just like everybody else. So I just wanted to create this space so we can just chat about it and support each other along the way. So, of course, this is a safe space of vulnerability, trust, and compassion. So, we are going to be talking about many things, about different points of view, about reframing. There's going to be a lot of questions emerging. And yeah, that can bring up some emotions. So my invitation as well is to hold yourself and hold everybody else in this space with loving and gentle presence, and have this pen and paper close to write down whatever may be arising along the way. We will have some time at the end to do some reflection and to have some kind of like integration time. And then at the very end, we will have a sharing circle to just share whatever has come up. Okay, so today we are, as I said, in the second session. Yesterday we started with the candidate experience, started with you, and today we are moving to what you see from your place in the job market. So I would like to go back a bit into what is it that we spoke about yesterday, because yesterday, talking about this attitude and response is all about okay, you are there sort of like in the middle, and there are all these insights, stressfuls, or different kind of inputs that are coming from outside in the job search. And we know how everything that is happening, we have these amazing senses in our body that filter and process everything that is happening. And sometimes in that processing, it's when we can get caught up with frustration emotions, with very sad emotions, with anxiety, etc., etc. So that is the part that we were looking at yesterday. And these are some of the questions that we left floating around to think about, is rejection amplifying that sense of anxiety or that sense of curiosity? If the job search is a job in itself, how are you going to prevent burnout from in? How are you balancing through those emotions? And then we spoke also about sharpening that intuition along the job search, and asking questions like, do you have the courage to act from a place of alignment, or will your actions be driven by fear? So you can catch up with the replay if you weren't here yesterday. And today we are going to move to the second angle, which is, okay, you in the whole context and how we all relate as job seekers, as candidates. How do we relate with everything that is happening? So yesterday it was all about zooming in, and today we are sort of like zooming out and really understanding what are the dynamics that are happening within the system, where have we come from, and yeah, how are we relating to all of that? Because that's also, it's not just about how we are processing what is happening outside, just as we were just like completely like a channel just receiving. We're also connecting to that, and we also need to understand what is going on and how are we placed within this with the dynamics and the relationships that are happening in this system where we are all interconnected. So this is very exciting because I am trained as a strategist, so I'm sort of like an expert, if you want to call it this way, in zooming out and really understanding the big picture. And this is what we are going to try to do today. Again, this is all invitations. So this is all about just like jumping into maybe seeing things in a different way. And maybe there's something that it relates to you. Maybe there is something that doesn't feel very aligned to you whatsoever. I'm just like giving you different ways of looking at things and trying to shake it a bit to see if that can allow us to identify blind spots that we are currently not seeing in the job search. So, as I said, this is a very interesting topic for me because this is when I get to talk about capitalism. And it's kind of like, it feels like everything is just about this. But I find it super interesting because in my own experience, it's been almost 10 years that I wasn't looking for a job. And in this time, it was so crazy to see how everything has emerged because it's been 10 years that I wasn't looking for a job and 5 years that I decided to step out of business as usual. My process has been of being very, very into the system. I was working in advertising, so there is nothing probably more capitalistic than that. And then I got out from all of that, and I've been looking from the outside for a long time. So now trying to go back in, my perspective has changed completely, and these kind of patterns and seeing how these the degenerative practices that have created capitalism are also part of the job search was the first like, oh, wow, what is happening here? And it was so clear to me. So here it's about, I just want to make a quick introduction to what we are going to be seeing today, because I think it's very important that we look at the job search currently from this point of view, from what is the system, how the system has been created in the last years, and especially how that kind of thinking has been so ingrained in our mindset, because we don't realize sometimes about how much the practices and the principles of capitalism have already been completely wired in our way of thinking and seeing the world. And that is why I think this part is super important to look at it and trying to really step outside to see those dynamics. And for example, we just things like, we know how capitalism is based on exploitation, is based on the separation, is based in otherness, is based on having a mindset of productivity and getting things right now and convenience, and these, all of that have been somehow also connected to the way that the job search is currently shaped. And sometimes we really don't realize about this. So there is many things that, and I could be talking this the whole day, which I'm not gonna do. But I just wanted to stress how important it is that we try to today get a bit outside of it and look it with fresh eyes, which is something very difficult when we have so much conditioned. But it's kind of like this kind of invitation to try to realize of the thinking patterns that we have and how is that also affecting to the way that we are showing up and how we are behaving in our job search and how is the recruitment process has been shaped over the years. So let's move to the first thing that I would like to invite you to come with me to analyze, which is the power dynamics that are happening currently in recruitment. And of course, we know how the system is super sustained today in this power dynamics, in this idea of, okay, how our like the power is really connected to how the system has been shaped, and it's still in a very hierarchical, even if the new world of work and global lines so on, but there's still like very important forces of power in the system that are taking place, and that also is translated in recruitment, and there's been some switches here. So I'm going to give you some stats just to start like setting up the tone. And is, just think of like 67% of candidates have been ghosted at some point during the hiring process. That hurts. That really hurts. And ghosting is something that we've been speaking about a lot in the last years, because it's sort of like this thing that started from dating world and so on, and now it's like, oh my god, we have it also in the hiring process. What is this? And it's quite a crazy thing, because ghosting is kind of like at the level of just being separated from the other person and really completely detaching from that sort of like starting of a relationship somehow. At the end, it's all about like relating to each other. So this is a candidate. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I was sharing before how I've been ghosted. I did like I crunched the numbers. I was ghosted like for so far since I started the job search, like at 10% of everything that I've been applying for, and so I'm pretty sure that here you have been also ghosted at some point. And ghosted at some point, I mean, I've been hearing stories as, I went through, I don't know, a couple of interviews and then I never heard back, which is like, well, I mean, I sort of like, I can understand somehow that I get ghosted when I just applied for the job and I never hear back. But really, like, not hearing back when you have been talking to a human being and so on for a couple of times even, it's just crazy. And here comes the tricky part. 84% of job seekers say that they ghosted on an employer in the last 18 months. Ow, that hurts. That really hurts, because this is literally one of the things that I was talking about before, how it's so ingrained, it's so in our thinking that we don't even realize. And really, the numbers is just like, wait a second, are you telling me that job seekers do it even more than employers? And this is all about, that kind of thinking that is really, it really pisses you off, because it's 100% true that what goes around comes around. So those numbers, when we look at, okay, Jesus, we really just are doing the same thing that we don't want to be done. And we don't realize how, maybe you are part of the problem many times. I'm not saying that you've ghosted an employer at some point whatsoever. I mean, I'm just looking at the general stats, what's going on. And the truth is that we're all doing it. So, of course, there's no way of breaking that cycle if everybody has been doing that at some point. And when I read those stats, it really was like, wow, for me, I don't know how is it landing for you, but it really got me thinking into what is the real thing about everybody ghosting. At some point or another, you maybe never have done it, but you may have heard of somebody. So there is like this constant like, okay, then who is ghosting first? And it came to me as, this kind of like the turning the tables. And this is where the power dynamic comes in. This concept of turning the tables is just that there was a time, and this has been spoken a lot about, when we are in good moments of the economy and the economy is flourishing and everything is going fine, it's said that it's the job seekers, the candidates, who really hold the power because, of course, they get super flattered and everybody is trying to get them into jobs and so on. And there's jobs for everybody and everything is good and abundant and blah, blah, blah. So they get to ghost. They use that power to really just create that separation and say like, why should I just reply to you? But, oh, wait, what happens when we are going through time of recession, when really budgets are being cut, when people are being laid off, when the economy is struggling? Then it's like, oh, wait, the tables have turned. And who holds the power now? Yeah, it's the HR managers, it's the employer, it's the people that are deciding if your CV is going to make it through the filter or not, if you're going to get the chance for an interview or not. So that's again, it's just like, again, using that power dynamic, and just there is always like a dominant group and a submissive group. And there is always this kind of thing that just comes literally from that power dynamic that is happening all around capitalism and the way that the system has been working. So it's kind of like sad, and it's very just like, really, why is it always that somebody has to have the power? Because that's going to be like a never-ending story if we continue, playing this game. So what made me really zoom out from the whole thing after reading these stats, after analyzing, it was that, okay, is this really how we are building teams? I mean, I don't know, but I just want to work towards something that is bigger than myself. And I want to do it with other people. So how am I going to do that if we are constantly playing the power dynamic game? And that was something that I think that we all should look at ourselves a bit, like sort of like, looking at our belly button and just saying like, okay, what is it that I'm doing? Have I been ghosting before? Have I been, just stepping into the privilege of, oh, look, everybody wants me now. And I get to choose. And I get to choose who I want to pay attention to. I get to choose who I want to just like neglect. And this is sort of like what we are experiencing right now in the job market, because it's a moment where, yeah, it's we know that there's been many layoffs. We know that the impact of technology, which we're going to talk about later, has been really, really affecting also the way that the workplace and the world of work is changing and is reshaping. And that creates a lot of tension and a lot of uncertainty that is, of course, affecting, because there is this sense of risk that HR managers and the companies are sort of like pulling the brake on the whole hiding and moving towards something bigger, because it's like, okay, with all this uncertainty, so that means that they have the power, because then you are in a position of, hey, I'm the job seeker, I really need a job, I need to, keep on living in the system. And yeah, it's kind of like, if we continue playing with this power dynamic, it's like, hey, but aren't we all wanted to get out of this? So why don't we stop playing from this point of view, from this perspective? So my question is, yeah, how do we stop othering the apparent dominant group as well? Because there's always like, oh, now we have to blame HR managers and recruiters, or we have to blame now the job seekers because they have all the power and so on. And we just keep on feeding this disconnection from each other, and this saying that there is that group that holds the power, and then now is this group that holds the power, when we know that, yeah, everything will come around again and again, because that's what the economy does. It's cyclical, so everything goes around again and again. And what I want to hear, like the very, very bottom line, and the question that I would like you to invite to sit with, is, can you really connect and be open to collaborate with the human on the other side? Because sometimes I have the feeling that we forget that other, that mass of, for example, in our case, that mass of the HR managers and recruiters, and it's kind of like something, yeah, odd there, that is like you cannot identify, but it's like, yeah, but these are humans that you actually want to work with, because we are all want just to move towards creating something together that is meaningful. So I really see that, yeah, this is especially that the power dynamic is something that in capitalism is so ingrained, and it doesn't work. Capitalism doesn't work if we just don't forget that, oh yeah, no, right, but everybody can thrive together. No, there's always because of this exploitation and the submission that it's built upon, needs that power dynamic and needs to constantly feed that. But yeah, it's like, okay, is that how we also want to approach the job search? Because right now you do have the power as well. So it's not about, and I'm not trying to tell now like, oh, don't ghost anybody and blah blah. I mean, I will recommend that, but it's not just that. It's not just looking at the stats that we were looking at the beginning. It's trying to look more into the general picture, that what is that connection that we are feeling with that human that actually is on the other side, and that actually maybe we all want to just build towards something together. So yeah, just leaving this question here, and I would like now to move to another angle that is actually very connected, and it's also super ingrained in the system currently, which is this competition that exists among the candidates and the employers as well. There is always competition. And I would like to just sit with this for a second, to see how you compare to over 100 other applicants. This just question that is kind of like this trigger that LinkedIn is using, so you can pay for LinkedIn Premium and so on and so forth. That is kind of like, well, first of all, how the hell am I going to compare myself to other 100 applicants just based on the few information and data points that you have about any other applicant on LinkedIn? But it really is about, why do I have to compare to the other ones? And then things like, yeah, how does it feel actually when you are scrolling on LinkedIn and you see a random person or a person that you know on your network that is sharing this classic, yeah, I'm starting a new position, and the post about this job and thanking the people that have been involved in the recruitment process, and thank you for the interviews, and I'm so excited, and so on and so forth. Now now really just be completely honest with yourself. How do you feel when you see this post? Because I have to tell you, I've been feeling a lot of bitterness at some points when I've been seeing these things. And that was kind of sad, you know? It was sort of like, why am I feeling bitter about somebody else's success and moving forward and getting probably what they were looking for? And then also we have the whole competition between employers. These are real screenshots from the values and culture web pages of different employers. And if you read through it, everything is about how my company is gonna be making, you know, kind of like the tipping point of your career, or how you are gonna, love us between like, I don't know, maybe just working on another thing that it's not that relevant, or why we are unique, or what, sets us apart. And yeah, it's all about like using this kind of superlatives that at some point it's sort of like, I mean, doesn't make sense. And I don't want it to trash out now the company cultures and so on. I mean, Jesus, I do work on organizational culture. And I know that how important it is also to present the company, like in terms of like, what are our values, what is our mission, etc., etc. But it's when it comes with this tonality of competition, of why are you better? Well, what if I don't want to be better than the others? I don't know. Is that a question that we can ask? So it's this constant, competition, which to me, it just feels like the tug of war. You know, the classic game where you're competing against the other team and everybody's pulling this rope. And yeah, the rope is like, okay, which one moves to the other side and so on, and who's the winner. And it's this constant like pulling a rope and trying to, sort of like get the other team on the other side and just prove that somebody is just better and above the other ones. And that is what I feel when I see, like how usually like the culture pages and how the employers, the potential employers position themselves as, look, this is the whole list of things that we can have the benefits and so on, and how we are better than the competition and what sets us apart and so on and so forth, so they can attract the right talent that they want. But then it's also, how we feel that we are constantly competing with the other employees and with the other candidates. And it's kind of like, well, why should we just, keep on thinking that we are competing? Like, what is it that I'm winning? No, I mean, one thing is getting a job, but is getting a job winning? Winning over what? Doesn't everybody get to get a job? So then what is it that we are winning or not winning? And I came to this idea of like, okay, how do you end the tug of war? And that tug of war actually finishes the moment that you relax the hands. And when you relax the hands, the rope falls down. And then there is no winner and no loser, because it's just like you reject to be part of that competition. And you just walk away. Like, okay, that's not going to continue with me somehow. So here, my invitation in terms of competition is, can we sit with the question of, okay, what can happen if you actually drop out of the competition game? What happens if you stop thinking that you have to compare yourself with the other applicants? What is it that you feel like you lost something when somebody is celebrating that they just got a job? can we see that sometimes this idea of competition is constantly so like inside of our bodies that we don't even realize, and it's like, why did we create a competition when there is actually no competition? And I don't know if this somehow resonate with you. Yeah, my invitation is really to just think like, what if maybe there is no competition? What can happen then if we don't think that there is a competition? This idea sometimes of like, no, I'm not going to share this super cool uh, job offer because then I want to apply for it and I want to be the only one applying for it. And I don't want to share with other people that may be good for it, which is like, why are you competing? If it's not for you, it's going to be for somebody else. But why do you have this constant idea of I have to win over the others? I have to get that. Because if somebody gets it, then it means that I don't get it. And it's like, well, can we think that maybe that wasn't for you? And isn't it better if we all have things that are meaningful and aligned to us instead of trying to get everything and to feel that, yeah, that constant feeling of if I don't get it, then I'm losing. You're losing on what? So this is the question for this bit. And I would like now to move and address the last thing that I would like to talk about today, which is what is happening with the emerging tech and the changes in skills currently in the job market. This is something I really like to do from time to time, which is just Googling, will AI, and then we can see here, like what people are worried about, because these are all worries. And if you see replace on takeover, well, like the takeover of the world is just hilarious, but it's about like everything is connected to your job, to things that people are doing. And I mean, I know that, and I don't want to turn this into an AI or tech talk, but there is a real fear. And I know that many of the layoffs, sorry, that there's been in the last months are very connected to AI. I mean, I keep hearing from people saying how they've been laid off because of yeah, some the company saw that they needed to start investing in AI and so on and so forth. So they are like, okay, what can we get rid of? Okay, so anybody that is doing some sort of like job that can be easily or not that easily replaced by AI and so. So there's a real fear in that sense around this emerging tech and the system. And of course, that affects directly how we are moving along the job search. And here's some new stats that I want to share with you. Definitely, AI is on the rise. And here, for example, we see how US businesses have been increasingly using AI and how it's very, very exponential, like really like in a few months, everything is like more and more and more. So it's expected that by the end of the year, 6.6 of businesses in US will be using AI, which is a huge change from September, from just in 1 year, 3.7. That's like doubling directly. And then it's not just AI, but it's like we know all the whole ATS world, and that's quite a fascinating talk also with the rest of job seeker and candidates, which is for the ones that maybe don't know, the ATS, the applicant tracking system. And it's like this software that companies use to filter CVs and that they sort of like help the hiring teams to analyze and filter and really categorize and identify that talent that they would like to pursue and to sort of like invite for interviews and so on, and move forward along the recruitment process. So yeah, we know already that 70% of large companies use ATS, and small medium businesses not that much currently, because there's still like they do many times things more manually. But it's like the very big companies, large company is a big company, but no, those big ones, all of them use ATS. So you know that on one side, your job may be replaced by AI, but then on the other side, when you're trying to get a job, you also have to go through the AI to be able to get a hiring manager or a recruiter to see your CV with their eyes, with their human eyes. First of all, you have to go through the AI and the machine, let's say. So it's kind of like, at the same, it's we hated it, but actually we like it, because at the same time, many times we are using also AI. So we have this love-hate thing, because right now in the position that we are, that is like, okay, I am in a vulnerable position, maybe looking for a new job or so on, and I have to compete also, and tech is so ingrained also in the process. So yeah, you don't like it because you feel like it's that kind of like cold thing happening, that process that you just have to go through. But then at the same time, when we are performing a job and we have like an amazing tech that is helping us and allows us to make our work quicker, it's like, hey, now everybody loves AI. So yeah, it's kind of like this love-hate relationship is very interesting to look from the point of view of what is happening in the market as a job seeker. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about is the skills, which is very connected also to tech. So McKinsey said recently that, yeah, 87% of companies said they either are experiencing skill gaps now or expecting them within a few years. That's a lot of companies. That like really a lot of companies that are like, okay, we are just like missing and we don't know exactly what we need. But yeah, we know also that expected within a few years that, yeah, we are going to have skill gaps. And then 44% of work skills will be disrupted in the next 5 years, which is sort of like, if all these skills are going to be disrupted, that means that actually we don't know what's going on. We don't know what is that we need. What are the skills that we need in the next 5 years? Like tech, especially the disruption of tech and how it is so rapidly changing, it's really creating these gaps. So actually, nobody really knows what is it that we need, and that is how it's affecting the renewal of work. And I want to give you an example that I am originally from Barcelona, and there is this neighborhood where we have this street that was inaugurated, well, changed actually name in 1929. There is the Garriga Stenographer Street. If you don't know what an stenographer is, I actually had to look for it, because it was like, okay, I have an idea, but it wasn't relevant for me at this point when I was looking at it. But then a stenographer is this kind of people, when they are in courts and they are like, like they just see that they are typing super fast, and it's because it's a way of typing that is more connected to the sounds. So you don't have to write the whole sentence that has been said, but you are just like getting like the senses and ideas and so on. So they are the people that are stenographers that are able to really process and document like very long conversations, and very accurate, because they don't need to write letter by letter. So this today feels crazy because it's like, well, yeah, we do have that so many apps and programs and softwares that help us. Like I can be talking now, and then if I upload this on YouTube, I will have right away the transcript. And Zoom also just collects the transcript. And the moment that I am closing, a few minutes later, I already have like letter by letter. And of course, it's going to be a bit not super accurate, but we're talking about a job, a skill that today is not relevant or is sort of like dying. And there are 3 streets in one neighborhood in Barcelona that are honoring the stenographers. And yeah, can you imagine like if today you will have to put a name on a new street, and you will be like data scientist Smith or community manager Robson, or it will be just like crazy because nobody will be doing these things. Or I don't know, maybe I'm not aware. Somewhere in the world, maybe they just like been naming streets for new tech roles and job titles. But it's everything is changing so fast that yeah, we don't know. Maybe it's if this stenographer guy, he is not relevant anymore, like not even 100 years later. We are saying that in 5 years, we don't even know what skills are we gonna have. So it literally is that, yeah, who knows? We really don't know. So in that sense, I have the feeling that constantly we are sort of like blaming tech in the way that it's taking our jobs and so how, and yeah, we were seeing it, like people are really worried about that replacement. But at the end, everything keeps on moving and evolving. And I just have the feeling that AI is currently the scapegoat of the whole system. And it's like everybody's sort of like blaming AI because of the job problems and the struggles that people are having to look for a new job, or because of they've been laid off. And so, but it's kind of like, yeah, well, that always happened. Now it's happening faster. Yeah, maybe, but we have always been adapted to different technologies, and that has been always what happens with technology. So isn't it maybe that we continue blaming tech when actually it's about we continue not seeing the whole human, and we continue not seeing that actually it's this kind of like separation and exploitation of the system that is making people lose their jobs. Because if you know that AI is important and you just laid off and you just like fire a bunch of people in your company so you can dedicate that budget into AI, this is not the problem of AI. This is the problem of you not seeing that you need the human as well. And you are just disposing people. So as a job seeker, like when you try to look at how this dynamic is working and how this is the big picture of what's going on, what I think it's opportunity that we have here is let's just stop blaming tech and work actually with tech. Let's just sit with it and see the opportunities that it has, and just not keep on like jumping on the train of thought of like yeah because AI whatever and so on. It's like yeah, I mean, but the problem is not AI. The problem is that the people are making decisions based on something that is constantly changing, and that actually today is AI, but we know maybe in 5 years it's going to be something else, because this is how it's rapidly changing and it's going to continue. So what if we just embrace that and try to make the most out of it? So I'm just gonna wrap up now all the questions that we've been looking at today. And we were looking at the power dynamics in recruitment. How can you really connect and be open to collaborate with a human on the other side? Then we've been seeing also this competition among candidates and employers. And the question was, okay, what can happen if actually you drop out of the competition game? And now finally, we were talking about this emerging tech and the skills and understanding a bit what is going on. And asking the question of what if we stop blaming tech and actually work with tech, because it's still going to be there and it's still going to be disrupting everything. So I would like to invite you now to just take a few minutes to sit with these questions, and then we can have a final round of sharing after integrating all that has been shared already.